So you slept with your ex and now you're all excited and you think you're getting back together. Are you? Or was that just a hookup? Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. Getting back together with your ex can be really exciting. However, I want to caution you, it's usually not for good. So if you want it to be for good, try not to jump in bed with them so readily, right? And if you just did, and that's why you're watching this, then, you can unring that bell. However, I've long said nothing changes if nothing changes. And that is so true if you're thinking about reuniting. And yeah, it's exciting. It's great to reconnect with somebody that you've really been missing and it feels great, but it probably just ripped that Band-Aid off, right? So you need to ask some real questions about, hey, what's going on here? Are we really going to do this again? And if so, what's going to be different? A real, honest, open conversation about what was the relationship, what was missing in the relationship, what needed to change, and why did they leave in the first place, right? Because, honestly, years ago, I made a video called Don't Let Your Best Conversation Be Your Last, because I think it's really true that unfortunately, when someone's checked out and done with the relationship, that then is when they're willing to be completely honest about what it is that they feel and what is missing. So if you can have that really honest, like nothing to lose conversation now, because you're really not together yet, that might be the way that gets you back together. Because if you can be really open and honest about the things that weren't working for you or that you were missing or that you weren't feeling or wanted to feel, there's all sorts of reasons why relationships fail. They're not always bad reasons. Frequently, they're just because of timing. So if the timing becomes better, I think it's worth it to re-explore a relationship that had potential, but just never reached that potential. Because first of all, too, taking a break and having space from each other can really give a different perception. So things could be different if you're coming back together now, and really having that heart to heart about what was lacking, what were you feeling, what made you leave, what was missing. And if you're asking that of your partner, you need to say for you too, anything that you felt was missing and that you really needed, and really make behavioral requests, right? Of this is what I would really like. Can you do that? And if they say no, you can't try to manipulate them to do that. You need to accept that that is their truth and no, they can't. And that's probably not a good reason to reunite. I really do believe that you can get back together with an ex and have it last forever this time if you were genuinely good for each other in the first place. Sometimes we meet the right person at the wrong time, right? Sometimes you met somebody, you were kind of crazy about them, you really connected, but for one reason or another, that just wasn't the right time and it just wasn't, like, it didn't work. But if now here again, it is however much long later, it usually is a minimum of like 6 months later. If not, sometimes a year, 2 years. Geez, I've known stories. I actually had a girlfriend who told me that her parents had dated for a while and they broke up and her dad moved to Europe and just, her mom had moved on and thought it was completely done. And then 3 years later, he popped up out of the blue and said, take me back. Let's try this again. And then they got married. And then, yeah, my friend was telling me this. She's one of their children and they're still married to this day, right? So that's my point about sometimes you meet the right person at the wrong time. And timing really is everything. Timing is everything when it comes to connecting with somebody and if it's going to be a good relationship or not, right? Like timing has everything to do with, can we make this last or not? If you have the opportunity to try again with somebody that you like, kind of the one that got away is definitely worth exploring if the opportunity comes up again. Timing has everything to do with keeping a relationship happy, right? Or making a relationship work. Perception is reality, right? And how you perceive something dictates your behavior and how you feel about something and what you do. So in meeting the right person at the wrong time, your perception is not open. But now if it's a different timing and your perception has changed and you are open and available, then wow, that person might be the love of your life. if you have a different perception, if your perception is not skewed by some other baggage that you haven't unpacked yet, right? And that's what I'm suggesting. That if there was somebody that you really liked, you had a great affinity for, you had good chemistry with, you were attracted to them, it was all good, but you just kind of weren't feeling it because you were really hung up on your ex. But now you're no longer hung up on your ex and you're in a better place in your life. And yeah, you know what? I highly encourage you to reach out to that person because they might be a really good fit for you now that your perception is different and not clouded by the judgment of an ex, right? And sometimes those are absolutely the best relationships. So yeah, if your ex comes back after they left you because of something that was going on in their life, that's worth exploring because it might be a better time for them. While I think long-term relationships that ran their course and just something wasn't really working there and stuff requires a really deep conversation about what was wrong and what we can fix and how things can be different before you even decide to try to get back together again. But as I've frequently said, most relationships only last 3 to 6 months. So if you had a relationship that ended within the first 3 or 6 months, and there were some really good things about that, but you kind of bailed out before you explored it all, I highly encourage you to try that again if you're in a different spot in your life now, because it just might be the one. Might not be, right? Sometimes you just need to get that out of your system. Sometimes it's the one that got away that you're just thinking about and you're like, yeah, what could have that been? That might have been good. Maybe I should have tried that more. Maybe I shouldn't have bailed out on that one, right? Whatever it is, it's always, I think, worth revisiting when you're in a different mindset, right? Because your perception is your reality. So if your perception has changed, so will your feelings. And that person that you thought was really terrific, but you just weren't that crazy about, you might find yourself head over heels for now that your perception has changed. Hey, you could help me out by liking my video if you like what I'm saying. So leave me your comments or your questions, and I thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in my next episode.